Okay. Okay, are we ready? All right, great. I am going to call to order the meeting of the Board of Education, which was duly noticed on January 7th, 2022, through posting and notification of the press in accordance with Wisconsin 19.84. First on our list is the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Millard is not here today. He usually does the introductions, but Commissioner Hannawal has volunteered for that duty tonight.
Good evening. Mrs. Wright has been a member of the School District of Janesville for 11 years. She has served in many student services and leadership roles within the 11 years, with the most recent as principal of Wilson Elementary for 5 years. She currently holds 2 Master of Education degrees. In her time within the district, she has assisted with truancy interventions, academic development, and social emotional development. Today, she brings 2 students, Dealey Harper and Maddie Peaty, correct? Who consistently model the Wilson way by showing great character and giving their best effort towards their education.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. So do I have a motion to adopt the Board of Education agenda?
So moved.
Okay, and that was Commissioner Ardrey and Commissioner Herda. All right, and all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously with Commissioner Murray and Millard absent tonight. Safety message, Commissioner Ardrey.
So you've heard me talk about really the thought of where am I at and what am I doing? And I'll start off by saying this is not a pleasant safety message. It is the mindset that we have to be in all the time. Where am I at? What am I doing? And then what could possibly go wrong? And if I can think about where am I at, what am I doing, and what could possibly go wrong, then, well, so I'm just going to share. I recently came across a tragic story from the news in Knoxville, Tennessee. Just before the new year, on December 30th, this 9-year-old girl was fatally hit in her driveway by her stepfather's truck. She was running out to meet him as he came home and ran out from between other vehicles, and he just simply couldn't see her. Here are a few recommendations. According to Safe Kids Worldwide, more than 9,000 children are treated in emergency rooms from injuries obtained when they're left unsupervised inside and around motor vehicles. Officials with the Florida Highway Patrol offered the following safety tips regarding children and driveway safety. Teach children to never play in, on, around, or under vehicles. Designate safe play areas for your children away from the driveway and vehicles. If you must use the driveway as play areas, always have adults supervise and cordon off the vehicle traffic with signs and a barricade. Keep vehicles in driveways or garages locked and store keys out of children's reach. Always try to avoid backing out of a driveway or parking spot by parking in a manner so that your first move will be forward. And I will pause there for a minute. So when I came and I started with Wisconsin Power and Light, growing up in the city of St. Louis, I don't think I ever pulled into anywhere because it was always it was always pulling. I didn't bag in at all. And one of the safety policies is always to bag in, because as you're arriving at a site, you can see the condition and you bag in. So as a habit, that's what I typically do, bag in or pull forward. So my first move is always forward. Now, I don't always get to do that, but I definitely try to do that. When you pull out of driveways and parking spots, first walk around your vehicle to check for children playing and make sure all children are safe and accounted for before moving your vehicle. Remember the 5-25 rule. Check the area 5 feet or yards around the vehicle, as well as 25 feet or yards in the direction the vehicle will head. Check all blind spots and mirrors before you move. Turn off your radio to better hear your surroundings. Roll down windows to listen for children or pedestrians. Always look both ways. Be extra cautious crossing over a sidewalk and other areas where children and pedestrians are likely present, like school zones, residential areas. Can you think of other ways to make an area safe for kids to play? So a couple other things, and it's just good practice, is when, you park. And one of the things that are often, you may find a note on your windshield. So if you just get in the habit of just considering a 360 walk around your vehicle all the time as you approach to make sure the vehicle is ready to move. So if there is a note, you would pick it up before you get in your vehicle or something like that. So you don't put yourself in a dangerous situation for your own personal safety. But then also, as we think about, kids, they do what kids do. And, this is a particular horrible situation that could have just simply been avoided if you expect the unexpected. Just expect things not to go right. So had he been going a little slower, he may still have hit her, but it hopefully would not have been a fatal injury. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you very much. Okay, now for our student presenters. First, we have from Craig High School, Charlotte Mark. Welcome, Charlotte. Yeah.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Charlotte Mark, and I'm the school board representative for Craig High School. To begin, leading up to winter break, Student Council hosted a variety of dress-up days for students. This included days like Pajama Day and Whiteout. Octagon Club also sold nearly $300 worth of candygrams, which were organized and handed out by club members in the days leading up to break. Also, students from the Elevate program hosted a holiday party for their mentors. It was held at Bodacious Brew, and all the business mentors and project managers who participated throughout the semester were invited to attend. The Craig administration hosted a subject selection night for incoming freshmen and parents to help them better understand the courses that will be offered next year. For students, their selection of classes for next year will be due at the end of January. Teachers are helping students choose said classes during advisories on Wednesdays. The Craig Spotlighters, directed by Miss Hammer, hosted preview night last Thursday. Show choir groups from Fort Atkinson and Milton performed their shows for the 2022 season in front of friends and family. This marks the beginning for their seasons, and Spots will continue to compete until March. Also on Thursday, Craig placed second at the Rock County Boys Swim Meet, with junior Ben Witt winning 2 events. Administrators and the Student Planning Committee helped create the 6th annual MLK Commemoration Assembly, which was last Friday. This year's theme was Open Minds, Open Hearts, and had some standout performances by students. For example, the MCs of the assembly were seniors Melvin Garcia and Ricky Kasik. Seniors Tiara Moore and Kanaya Marshall performed a cover of Freedom by Beyonce. On Saturday, 30 DECA students ventured to Sun Prairie High School for the district competition. They competed either as individuals or with a partner, and there were multiple categories from which to choose. The 2 components of the competition were a business-related cluster exam and a simulated business meeting with a judge. Craig was very successful, with 12 students, including myself, qualifying for the state-level competition, which will be held in February. Looking forward, Student Council's Executive Board and sophomore members will be hosting a Red Cross blood drive for the first week of February. This blood drive will utilize online registration, which will be a first for Craig. Today marked the first day of finals, which will continue until Thursday. This is the first official finals week with a specified schedule since 2020. Overall, student opinion is grateful for the schedule, as classes are very spread out and it includes the opportunity of early dismissal. There will not be school this Friday due to the end of the semester, nor will there be school Monday because of MLK Day. There will be a CATS informational meeting on the 19th for parents interested in participating. To conclude, I would like to, of course, say thank you to the school board as I look forward to presenting to you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, also tonight we have from Parker High School, Addison Riley Lean. I got it right. I've been practicing. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Addison Riley Lean, as she said. First of all, Happy New Year. I hope you guys all had a great holiday and a great break. To start out, final exams started today and will continue through the rest of the week. Students and teachers have been working hard to get all of the assignments and projects done before exams. And I can't believe we're already halfway through the school year. I'm sure you guys all feel the same. Yesterday, the Parker Create team was excited to present an MLK celebration live and in person after a virtual experience in 2021. The theme for 2022 was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, a demonstration of good conscience. This year's program was entirely student-driven. Parker students highlighted the harassment, daily struggles, and sacrifices that Dr. King endured in trying to obtain justice for all. The celebration included performances by the Parker Jazz Ensemble, Parker's a cappella choir, Royalettes dance team, and individual student demonstrations of speeches, artwork, songs, and letters to commemorate Dr. King's message. Parker DECA had 55 members compete at the District 3 Career Development Conference on January 8, 2022. 28 students were recognized for their outstanding accomplishments in the respective categories. Categories included accounting, marketing, finance, entrepreneurship, management, business communications, and those are just a few of them. I participated in the human resources event. All Parker DECA members represented Parker High School with outstanding conduct and character. Parker's debate team will be competing next week on the 15th and 16th in the Wisconsin State Debate Tournament, which will be held virtually this year because of COVID. Parker will be represented by Begonia Vingers and Megan L. The team has been very successful this year and is hoping for a good showing at state. The Parker Arts Academy will be presenting one of the most beloved musicals of all time, Rodgers and Hammerstein's The Sound of Music, on February 11th, 13th, and 18th through 20th at Parker High School in the auditorium. Students are available at Napton Music Notes, Voight Music Center, and www.parkerarts.com. There are 50 Parker students and 10 middle school and elementary students in the cast and crew, so you'll probably see a lot of familiar faces, and we hope to see you at the show. Finally, course selection for the 2022 to 23 school year has begun. Counselors have been working hard to train teachers and create resources for students to use. The ACP coursebook is available on the Parker website for students and their parents to use as a reference when choosing classes. Students will be entering their choices into Infinite Campus during the last week of January. It is a very important process, as you know, because it determines staffing for next year. Overall, second semester went very well, and I'm very excited to see what second semester brings, and I look forward to presenting you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move to citizen comments. First, I'm going to read our expectations for citizen comments, which I do at this time at every meeting. Welcome to all of those who have signed up to speak to the board tonight. We value your input and interest in our school community. Accordingly, through School Board Policy PO 0167.3 titled Public Comment at School Board Meetings, the board allows citizens an opportunity to express interest in and concerns for the schools during the citizen comments portion of school board meetings. We would also like to remind you that school board meetings are for the purpose of carrying on the business of the district. They are not public meetings, but official business meetings held in public. To ensure that board meetings are conducted in an orderly and productive manner, all public comments, no matter the topic, are subject to the following guidelines. Number one is a time limit. Speakers will be given 1 3-minute opportunity to express or to address the board. This time limit will be enforced. If a speaker continues past the expiration time, the board president or district official will ask the speaker to stop and leave the podium. Per board policies PO 0167.3 adopted March 9th, 2021, the portion of the meeting during which the participation of the public is invited to speak shall be limited to 30 minutes unless extended by the presiding officer. Number 2, conduct. Speakers must conduct themselves with respect and civility toward others. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. No person may address or question board members individually. Prohibited conduct includes conduct which is disruptive to the meeting and interferes with the ability of others to observe the meeting or to speak to the board, or interferes with the ability of the board to conduct business. This includes conduct which is abusive, harassing, or threatening, and conduct which includes the use of vulgarities or profanities. If a speaker violates this rule, we may prohibit the speaker from further comment at the meeting. Number 3, topics for discussion. Speakers may not comment on confidential personnel disputes or share grievances involving individual school employees that do not implicate issues of public concern, or share individual student disciplinary matters, as there are other channels available that provide for consideration and disposition of such matters. Number 4, board response. Pursuant to Wisconsin's open meetings law, board members are prohibited from responding to public comments unless the topic was identified on the public posting of the board agenda. And number 5, recess, adjourn. In the event an individual's conduct becomes a disruption to the board meeting and the board cannot continue its business, the gavel may be used to declare a recess or to adjourn the meeting. In addition, if such conduct constitutes a threat to the health or safety of another individual or individuals at the meeting, law enforcement may be contacted to restore order and safety. Thank you. So we have only one person tonight. We have Mr. Ty Ballaroo. Thank you, Ms. Baller. Would you state your address, please?
4608 Pendleton Court, Janesville, Milton, Wisconsin. It's kind of funny. First, it wasn't public comment. This has nothing to do with public, and it's not public. And then you said but we have to register in the public part and then the other public part. So it's a little confusing, like a lot of the other procedures, I think, at the school district. We go ahead and promote kids without masks and a lot of things like Happy Days are here again on TV. While on not on TV, how's it really going? We have never done any tests. There's no tests at the building, at the staff level. That's because there's no test anywhere else. It's like an agreement that government said, hey, well, we just don't need any tests. And the people that were hired locally from voters don't have any need to follow any other guidelines, like parents, stuff like that, like the people that are hired. And proof of that is there's not a guardian ad litem. There's not a single guardian ad litem hired attorney in the state of Wisconsin for all the kids. And that's at the public instruction, the Department of Health, Family and Child Services. See, here's this is the only thing I can help you with, because until you realize that we don't have to do this, especially to our kids, then the chances that we're not going to do it to other people is less than likely, and it won't happen, and that's guaranteed. And that's having a healthcare library, because at the state they don't either. We have a long practice at the state of Wisconsin. We write a lot of professional reports that nobody professionally reads. And I'll say that again. There's a long tradition at the state of Wisconsin that makes professional reports and nobody reads them. They put them into an automatic email routine, and that's supposed to be some kind of audit. Audit for just simple automation. There's no contact, no understanding. We fake it down here. That's what this is. This is faking it because we don't practice and we can't tell them kids what we're doing. You know, we go ahead and pull the mask down and don't mean it and different in ways. I put my mask up because I mean it. I can show you a simple test. You breathe like this, you can tell masks are bad for you. It's that easy. You just pull your mask over your nose and you can tell you need that nasal. That's how we're born. That's what National Geographic said this month in their publications of science. Now, they've been doing science a long, long time. They help schools, they help government, they publish in, I think, 25 countries now. The first country they did other than the United States was in 1997, and that was Spain. So you think how long that took. Don't let this suffering be for nothing, because that's all it is suffering for nothing. And I don't know how we can have non-public, public, other than wearing masks that we know are bad for us. Can you send these back, or can I pick this up tomorrow? Or should I take it for them?
You're asking to make copies for the board?
Yeah.
You can leave it with me and I will scan it for the board.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ballroom.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, next is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Commissioner Ardrey? Okay, Commissioner Hayworth? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. And Commissioner Millard and Murray are absent. All right, on to our board items. Dr. DeGraff. Am I right, Dr. DeGraff? That's what I thought.
Good evening. Tonight I have the honor of introducing Miss Carrie Heidenreich. She is the Early Literacy Coordinator in the School District of Janesville, and the Learning and Innovation team is very excited to welcome Carrie to the team. And the Early Literacy Task Force, as you know, was established back in 2017. That really began that focus of building the partnership between the School District of Janesville and our community to build that bridge for students from birth to age 4 in their early literacy skills as they prepare for kindergarten. So I want to thank the board and Superintendent Pufall for your continued support of our Early Literacy Task Force and initiatives, and how this position truly supports our literacy interventions for all students and that promise of 90% of students reading at and above grade level. So Ms. Heidenreich is here tonight, and she earned her Bachelor of Science in Public Policy and Administration from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. She most recently served as the Chief of Staff and Government Relations Coordinator for the Chancellor at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater.
Ms. Heidenreich's passion for early literacy and her strengths in strategic planning and initiatives, developing community connections, and leading complex projects will make her an excellent early literacy coordinator here in our district. So I'd like us to please welcome Carrie Heidenreich.
Good evening. I would like to thank the school board and the superintendent for supporting the early literacy program, and I'm excited to be here and working at the school district. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the Elevate Child Care Program. Right, well, good evening. Tonight we want to highlight the Elevate Program project from Craig High School. Chris Medenwald, Angela Lynch, myself, along with Commissioner Hayworth, we had the opportunity to work with Brandon Miles and a team of Elevate students at Craig High School on a school daycare project. It's been a pleasure to work with Brandon Miles, and you're going to find out this pretty amazing team of students tonight. And one of our promises, again, in the School District of Janesville, is to prepare students for real-life learning experiences that they can really apply beyond the classroom and post-graduation. So the purpose of the presentation tonight is for you to really see one of the Elevate projects that highlights this opportunity that our students have had to really develop and complete research on a project, build their communication skills, their critical thinking, and their creativity skills. So the students will really highlight tonight one of these projects and how it's really developed into an initial idea that they wanted to share with the board as in consideration with the School District of Janesville. So I'd like to welcome Brandon Miles, one of the teachers in the Elevate program, and the students as he's going to introduce them and the Elevate project.
Thank you, Mr. Graff, and I do want to give a thank you out to Ms. Hayworth, Mr. Pufall, Ms. Paul, Mr. Graff, Dr. Beyond, Mr. Medenwald, Ms. Lynch. They were some of our major players on this project that you're going to see from these students, and without such supportive people around us, both within our building and at the district level, you know, we wouldn't have opportunities to do things like what we're going to show you. So I really want to thank you all for your time that you spent with the students. So to jump in, as Mr. Graff said, my name is Brandon Miles. I am a business teacher at Craig High School. I'm one of the 4 members that primarily help oversee the Elevate program there. Mr. Sean Kane, our assistant principal, is our program coordinator. Mr. Fritz Ellison and Miss Cindy Habercorn are the other Elevate instructors with me on a day-to-day basis. And my goal with Elevate tonight is just to give you an idea of kind of what we do for those of you that don't know how the program works, since the program is very different from a traditional class that students take. And a quick overview of it, I really like to chunk it into 3 distinct areas. The first area is what courses are the students actually taking at the high school level. We have these students for 3 of the 8 hours of the day. I don't think they have a single other class that you do more than once in your day. So that's very unique. They take 6 semester-long courses. They get a full credit in English, a half credit in social studies, and 1.5 credits of elective credit within those courses. So they're cramming in all the same content they would be getting just in traditional classes, but they're throwing on a couple things. One of those things are the business projects, which you're going to learn more about tonight. We have 6 business projects in first semester, and each student will do 2 business projects throughout the course of the school year with Elevate. They typically last about 8 to 10 weeks in length. After these students are done presenting today, we'll have a couple months off to really hit curriculum hard again. Then we'll start our second semester business projects in March. The last main component of the program is the mentorship. These students can give you awesome stories about their mentors. We've had students that have been offered jobs from their mentors right away when they still are a student. And we try to place them in a career field of interest. We survey them the year before they enter the Elevate program, spend the summer utilizing our resources, getting them in the careers that they are most interested in, so that they can then build connections, open doors, open pathways for them, both in and beyond high school. And we also try to utilize community instructors, Ms. Hayward, for example, has come and spoken with our Elevate students before, just as a community instructor, business person too. To give you a quick synopsis, those are the courses that they take within the program. Again, that's 3 hours of the day, full year long. So with that being said, I want to give most of the time to the wonderful students, and so I will let them begin their presentation.
Hi, my name is Merlinda Fitowski. I am a junior at Craig. After high school, I plan on going into the medical field. I will now be starting off the presentation by going over the overall concept. We chose this as a project because we want to expand the school district by adding daycares within Craig and Parker High School. Our motivation for adding a daycare is to increase retention rates and create a learning experience for our students. Originally, the entire Elevate class worked on this project. We gave a brief presentation to a few board members, but my team and I have gathered more information throughout the semester. Opening a daycare will provide more opportunities for teachers to be hired and help with the retention rates. For the setup for the daycare, we are planning to have the daycare at Craig and Parker High School. For Craig, we have a few locations where we will put it, but for Parker, we still have to check them out first. The setup and renovation will be explained more briefly throughout the presentation. My team and I thought it would be beneficial to send out surveys to get feedback from both staff and students. I will now be going over the primary research that we gathered from the staff and students with the entire school district. First off, I'm going to start off with the surveys. We sent out 2 surveys total. We first sent one out to the staff with the entire school district, and then we sent one out to the students at Craig High School. We received a total of 433 staff responses and 425 student responses. Overall, we received a lot better feedback than we were expecting. First, we have the staff surveys. Before sending them out, we had a few goals we wanted to accomplish. We wanted to know how many staff will be interested in the daycare. Considering the prices of daycare right now are high due to COVID, we wanted to see how much staff currently pay for. Another thing we wanted to consider is that the staff's current struggles and what we could possibly do to improve our daycare. Although we knew that the daycare might have some positive feedback, we knew that there will also be negative feedback as well. I will now be passing it to Reed, who will explain the survey results.
Alrighty, thank you, Merlinda. Hello, everybody. My name is Reed Kelly. I'm a senior at Craig High School. After high school, I plan on attending Milwaukee School of Engineering for construction management. Today, I'll be going over some statistics from the survey. The first question we asked was, do you have children who are daycare age or are planning on having children? We found that 32% said yes and 67% said no. This was a pretty good number for us, and it was around our target goal. For those who said yes to the previous question, we found that we then asked, do you currently have any children enrolled in daycare, or do you ever plan on enrolling a child in daycare? We found that around 90% said yes, which was a very large number for us. Next, we asked what type of daycare is or are your children enrolled in. We found that it was majority full-time and the rest being part-time or wraparound. For the next question we asked, how much you pay weekly per child. We found that most people pay around $150 to $250 and the rest being either above or below that margin. Next, we asked, if offered, would you consider enrolling your children into a state licensed daycare at Craig or Parker High School? There was a lot of interest in this question, and I think there's a lot of staff members who are interested. Next, we asked, if our school district offered this, would it incentivize you to stay with an SCJ as a staff member? Most people say yes to this, and this is very good for their retention rates. Next, we asked, how old are your children? We found that there are a lot of young children amongst the staff. Ages 4 to 5, there's around 32 responses for yes, 2 to 3, 41, and then 0 to 1, 52. Next, we asked, do you think having a daycare for newborns to 5 years old within our high schools would be helpful to staff? And this was asked to all people, and majority said yes, I think around over 90%, so that was also good. Or sorry, most either agreed or strongly agreed, and then there's a little bit that disagreed. Here's some of the demographics. I'll give you guys a second to look those over. I think the main takeaways from this are that it was mainly high school staff responses, then there was little bit of elementary, or mainly elementary school staff responses as well. Here's some important comments. I'll also give you guys a second to look over these. I think the most important one was this could be a win-win. Students could get credit while staff could have on-site childcare. That was two of our main goals with this project. So here are some of our, now I'm gonna go over the student survey. Some of our goals were discover who takes childcare classes, discover who has interest in working with kids, see how many students are interested in working in the daycare, see if offering volunteer hours increases the incentive, and those were our main goals that we had before we sent out the survey. Here are some of the results. We asked the students, have you taken any childcare classes? Not a lot have, but that's still about 40 responses for yes, which is still a pretty good number out of the 425 responses. We then asked for the people that said yes, do you enjoy working with children newborn to 4 years old? You found that 80% said yes. That is also a very good statistic to see that students are interested. We then asked, if given the opportunity, would you be interested in working at a daycare at Craig or Parker High School during the school day? We found that most either agree or strongly agree, but there was a few that said they disagree. However, after we asked the next question, would you be interested in working in a daycare at Craig or Parker High School during the school day if you were given volunteer hours? We found that most either agree or disagree, so that increased the incentive. Also, we asked, would you be willing to take childcare courses 1 and 2 as a prerequisite to become eligible to work in daycare? We found that 75% said yes to this, which shows that they're determined to take the classes they want to take prerequisites. And here's also some other survey result demographics. I think the main takeaway is in that area right there that there's a lot of young students interested. So if this project doesn't develop, in the near future, at least we know that we have young students that are interested a year or two from now. I will now be handing it over to Jaden to talk about the Heartland District visit.
Thank you, Reed. Hi, my name is Jane Ariano. I'm a senior, and I plan on attending UW-Milwaukee next year. We had the opportunity to go to Heartland Lakeside Academy. Heartland has childcare in their elementary school. Angela Lynch from the school district came along with us also. We learned so many things from Stacy. She is the head of the childcare facility. It was really cool to see kind of our vision in real life. We learned that they have 5 different classrooms dividing all the different ages. Teacher retention was huge. They loved that it was closed, and staff that were involved with the childcare, there hasn't been anyone that has left because they have the childcare need that they need. The profit, newborn to 2-year-olds will not make that much profit, but 3 and 4-year-olds will. I have the licensing of Wisconsin State Licensing, the policy book, and the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. We can contact the DPI to get the policy book. Stacy told us how the policy book pretty much has just a checklist of everything we're required to have as a childcare. The requirements, we need a building permit, and since it would be in the school, it'd be very easy to get. We need barrier doors. We will need a door that's dividing the actual school and the childcare. If not, we'll need to do a background check on everybody on the opposite side of the school. There is an under 2 rule where anyone under 2 needs to be on the ground level. Where we want the childcare is in the basement, so that's perfect. Every child needs a chair and every baby needs a crib. Just when we get the furniture, we'll just keep that in mind that everyone needs everything that they need. There's also toilet and sink requirements. When we renovate the bathrooms, we just need to make sure that the measurements are perfect for the younger kids. I also have a picture of the playground. As you can see, the playground doesn't have like very tall things because there is a rule where it has to be a certain measurement, so you don't need to do the 9 feet of mulch. So if we ever planned on not doing that, we can always just get these play things that they have. There's also the furniture called community playthings. Going to Heartland, we saw that there was many things that were made out of wood, and those things last forever. So she gave us the community playthings to look for. Now I will be handing it off to Maddie for the SWOT analysis.
Thank you, Jaden. So I am Maddie McCormick. I'm a senior at Craig, and I plan to attend UW La Crosse next year. So I'm going to be talking about the SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal, and opportunities and threats are external. So for strengths, we have over 1,500 staff members in the district. Therefore, we have a lot of clientele for this daycare. Employee benefit is another strength because teachers are going to be paying a reduced amount for this daycare. And then this will be a staff retention tool because as we saw in the survey, there have been staff that have left in the past because they can't afford to pay for their childcare and they can't find it in the area. For weaknesses, maintenance and upkeep are just going to be time consuming and costly, and then liability is also going to be another big thing. For opportunities, we have incentives for teachers because they're going to have that reduced cost, and then we're also going to have student career pathways, but I'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then we can also incorporate early literacy opportunities into the daycare as well. And then also local daycare shortage. There's a daycare shortage in our area and just everywhere in the US, so people are going to be in need of this. And then for threats, just other daycares in town, governmental regulations, and then employee turnover. There's a lot of teachers, or it's hard to find teachers for daycares, but because they would technically be a district member, we're hoping that they would come to us because they get the insurance benefits. And then for the career pathway for students, students would just be getting hands-on experience in the classroom. They would also get volunteer hours, so as we saw in the survey, kids would want to do that to get those volunteer hours. And then we also talked about possible internships, so we were thinking of a course possibly like Elevate, where they could take it and get certified, and then they could also go help within the daycare throughout the day. Now I will be handing it off to Britton for the break-even analysis.
Thank you, Maddie. My name is Britton Bertignoli. I'm a senior at Craig High School, and next year I'll be attending UW Whitewater. So we did a break-even analysis to see how much tuition we would need each child to pay so the monthly cost of the daycare would equal out to zero. So we talked to custodial staff and did online research, so these numbers may not be 100% accurate, but we got them as accurate as possible. And the numbers I show you on the screen are different than the numbers in front of you, so these are updated. So we would need to do renovations. We were thinking about having 4 rooms in the daycare, so these two numbers would be times by 4. And then we would have 2 bathrooms. There are 2 bathrooms already existing at Craig High School. We would just need to renovate it. We would need a barrier door to separate the high school from the daycare. And then we already have a separate and secure entrance, but to upgrade that, it would cost about $3,000. For furniture, it would be about $1,000 for each toddler room due to the fact that every toddler has to have their own chair. And then $400 per crib. And if we have 1 room, we could have up to 8 infants in that room, so that would be 400 times 4. And then for a fenced-in playground area and equipment, it would be about $25,000. So aggregate one-time costs, the carpet would cost about $12,000, painting $2,000, bathrooms $24,000, barrier doors $2,000, and separate and secure entrance $3,000. So the total renovations would be about $43,000. And then for furniture, the total furniture would be about $31,200. So the total one-time cost would be about $74,200, but we would shoot closer to $100,000 because we don't know how accurate these are. So for the for the monthly costs, we would need to get an initial licensing, which would be $212 every year. Toys and books, which would be $25 per child. Consumables, which would be $60 per child. And then staff would be $2,250 per child. but that is on the higher range of staff for elementary or for daycare teachers, so we could lower that if needed. And then for educational resources, we don't have an exact number for that, but through our research, we think that would be minimal. So aggregate reoccurring costs, it would be about $22,972. So with all those numbers in mind, it would be about $97,172. So with monthly costs being $22,972, each child would have to pay about $410 a month. So next steps, we would need to look farther into renovations, furniture, labor, and licensing, and also look into capital needs and rates. So for the area we have scoped out at Craig High School, there are 2 hallways in the basement that are kind of separated from the rest of the school. And through one of the hallways, you can see on the right, there is already a secured entrance. There are 2 custodial rooms downstairs that we could renovate and are big enough to renovate for 2 classrooms. There is already a staff lounge in the basement, and it connects to another room, which is on the left. And then there are 3 classrooms that are already there and 2 bathrooms. So now I'll be handing it off to Melinda for the conclusion.
Thank you, Britton. This concludes our final presentation. We want to thank you for your time and for this opportunity. If you have any questions, my Elevate team and I are happy to answer them.
Any questions? Commissioner Hannawalt.
Thank you. I think this is great. What I'd like to know is the majority of you are seniors. Obviously, this is not going to come to fruition within the next 6 months by the time you graduate. I remember 25 years ago when I worked for the county, a colleague and I who had young children proposed this to the county and it fell flat. And so, you know, it's always out there. And I think this is a fantastic, especially for staff retention. My question is, with all of you plus others that are going to be moving on, who's going to pick up the ball and continue with this project in the near future, you know?
We'll try and balance. Yeah, so if the kids have got us probably about as far as they can go, it really gets in depth with that policy book and checking boxes after that. So if this was something the school board seriously wanted to consider, obviously our recommendation is run the numbers more, get as accurate numbers as you can as possible to know what you're headed into. We all know I just moved into a new house last month, right? The costs are always higher than you expect. And also you'll probably have to hire a director such as Stacy was in Heartland to kind of oversee everything.
Thank you. Other questions? Yeah.
Not really a question, but you guys did great. It's been such a pleasure. You guys are so professional to work with, and they're all so engaged. And we are lucky to have this at Craig. It's growing. My daughter was in it last year. It's growing even more this year and will continue to. I think the opportunities that it gives our students to work on real life business projects. They're making an impact on their community. And in fact, Mr. Miles, you got an email from Oakley Ryan. She's implementing some of the work that a group did last year for Arise, right? So they're making an impact and they're doing valuable work, and they are really good kids, really great to work with, and they're chosen for a reason, and they're doing great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A group last semester did some work for the Arise program downtown. They got almost 1,000 survey responses, and they were mentioned in the city report because they changed the stuff that Arise was going to upgrade downtown to better match the responses they were getting from the survey, so they reprioritized some things from that. These guys were also presenting for their final exam, so they had lots of pressure, right? And this morning we had a group of students presenting to Mercy Health, obviously largest county employer in the region, who wants to start an internship program potentially with students and build that. And the Elevate students really took the project and ran with it to give them ideas. And Mercy came back to us and said, let's figure out more ways to partner for that as well. So when you're talking about everything from the city governments to the largest employers in the region and things like that, it's got a lot of wheels and a lot of momentum where it can definitely keep growing. Thank you.
I got a question.
Carl, go ahead.
Yeah, could we get a that in an email, what you put that presentation? That'd be number one. Number two, you just presented for one school.
Two.
So if we were looking at all the schools across the district, that would be a different thing, but it might offer some economy of scale. Not sure what that would do. I think it's a worthwhile project. I think that would be great. And as others have mentioned, this is throughout our community. Many businesses would love to do this and be able to, with the shortages and that, keep their employees and offer them a step above what other businesses offer. So I commend you for it. It was fun to listen to, but I'd love to see those figures and hash them out a little bit more. And I certainly would be a backer of a program like this, at least looking at it further. So thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate your program a lot and your ideas and finding something that's a real world problem and looking for solutions. I thought that was outstanding. I did this when I first had kids 33 years ago, with my employer at the time, not my school district, somebody else. And I remember just being overwhelmed with the cost of daycare. You know, I thought I knew, and it wasn't until I had kids I realized just how little I knew. And just looking for solutions, because there was, I think, a daycare shortage is just everywhere. You know, I mean, like all the time, and especially finding really quality daycare. And at the school where I work, there used to be a preschool program that was run by the students, and it was part of a class. And I would send my kids to that preschool program, and that was really wonderful to let my daughter come into the building, you know, and be a part of it and stuff. So what you're doing and your idea and your choice of project is really outstanding and very important. So thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? Questions? Yeah.
Well, I had the opportunity to see your presentation earlier this school year, and I was so impressed, and I am so much more impressed. I'm so proud of you all. This kind of presentation, this is like a big deal adult presentation, and you've worked so hard. I am thrilled that you were able to go on the site visit and see Heartland. I think that's really meaningful and brings it like a full circle vision to see the project you're doing and what it could look like. And I would absolutely love to see that happen here. I hope that we can continue momentum. I don't know where we go from here, but I know at your presentation at Craig earlier this fall, Dr. Bion mentioned that this was an idea that was already in motion years ago and then kind of withered away. And so I think it would be really spectacular if you all could find out that you were part of creating a long-lasting program that had significant impact to students and faculty in our district. One of the reasons why I did not return to teaching was because I had a baby and I really didn't know what I was going to do with that baby and a classroom. And so I think this is probably I know for sure would help with retention. I would love to know how we can continue to support this and get your project moving forward. So keep it up. And to all of you that are graduating, and whether you're graduating or not, best of luck to you all. And I hope that you can check back and see what's happening with this program down the road.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a presentation on Google Classroom and student Chromebooks. I know it well.
All right, good evening again. So maybe I'll date myself a little bit when I talk about in high school that I might have had a typewriter and I had to find, hoping I didn't make a mistake when I was typing and had to have lots of whiteout. Or even when maybe some of you were in college and computers initially started to come out and we had to find a place to go check one out so we could actually type our paper and find our hard disk or our flash drive, and hopefully that we didn't lose it and have to start over. So we know that technology is always changing and many times faster than we're able to keep up with the changes. And in the School District of Janesville, as we adopt new curriculum resources with many online components, it's important that all students have access to the instructional tools that they need to allow them to be successful in the classroom. And so in grades 6 through 12, we purchased 6,200 new Chromebooks to equip all 6th through 12th grade students with the same tool at the secondary level. So tonight we really feel it's important to keep the board informed on this important initiative and implementation of the Chromebooks to ensure all students have the access they need to be successful, and how is it really enhancing teaching and learning in the classroom. Our promises always guide our decisions that we make in the School District of Janesville, and so one of those promises is to continue to provide direct and engaged and empowered instruction. And I think you just saw the example of that in the last presentation, and hopefully in this presentation as well. How do we see these Chromebooks, and how have they helped impact and engage students in learning? So I want to introduce to you Shelley Gard, and she's a program support teacher who's part of the Learning and Innovation Department and is really the liaison between curriculum and instruction and instructional technology. She's very valuable and knowledgeable in our district and works with the innovation specialists in our K-12 schools to help ensure that these technologies tools are implemented well, and how can they help deliver high quality instruction. So I'd like to introduce Shelley Gard, and she's going to begin sharing about our Chromebooks.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be here and share something that I'm so passionate about. Before I get started, I do want to let you know that this, of course, is a collaborative effort. The presentation pieces of it that you're going to see this evening were put together, and it's actually part of why I'm here today, because I was presenting to Rock University High School back in August when my innovation specialists were presenting in their schools, and Colleen Onsrud was there, and she said, "These are awesome. You need to make sure the school board and the directors know all about this." And so that was one of the things I think that led us to put these to the top of the list. But certainly the innovation specialists that are not here with me this evening have supported this presentation, and further, they're doing the work right now. And so as we progress throughout this evening, I will share with you a great number of examples of wonderful things that are happening because of this tool. So one of the SOS strategies, and I don't know if you've heard of SOS strategies before, but we're all highly trained with Discovery Ed, and SOS just simply means spotlight on strategies. They're just protocols. They're ways to help students kind of engage, or whomever is part of an activity to engage and kind of set their mind for, what am I listening for? What am I looking to take away from this? And so tonight, I'm going to invite you to take part in an SOS strategy that's called IDEA. And it's essentially an acronym. And what I want you to listen for or play along as we are able is something particularly interesting to you. That's what I stands for. I want to hear from you if you have anything specifically difficult or different, right? Anything that excites you, and or anything that you think is really going to help us in being more advanced. Back in my day, back when I was at Craig High School, actually it was before kids had cell phones, and so we had to have separate cameras just for projects. But before, and when we say before now, we're talking about 2019, 2020, so very recent before. If students wanted to take part, which was often an assignment, in a video project or making a collage of some sort, they had to take out their personal cell phone, if they owned one, and use that to capture video and or images. Of course, that was in conflict with a lot of cell phone rules at the time, and I know that we've grown since then. Last year, and spring of the year prior in 2020, when we all had to go home because of COVID, students literally, in order to show their work, would handwrite it, take a picture with their cell phone, and upload it, sometimes a problem at a time, depending on the complexity of the course, so that the teacher could see their work. Once again, that required a cell phone or a second device, which we certainly were not providing at the time. The other thing that we used to have to do, as recent as less than a year ago, is we used to have to try to draw with the trackpad. Because unless you had a phone and you could take whatever it was you were working on and draw, you were limited to a trackpad. And so if I'm going to try to draw with a mouse or a trackpad, that's a huge challenge. So what I want to share with you tonight is how different things are now. Instead of me telling you about all of these features, I'm just going to quickly open up, if it's okay. Lenovo did a much better job of kind of spotlighting all of these highlights, and then we're going to play around with the devices. And I think the audio is down intentionally. I don't want to blast anybody, it's just music. And it's been tested. Again, they did a much better job of at least highlighting some of those. So we aren't going to talk as much about the specs, but I do want to kind of get them in your hands. And now it talks about how easy the setup is. At 4 o'clock this evening, I was in here trying to make sure my presentations were going to work for now. And since then, and actually I sat around for a while watching the other great presentations, I set up all of these Chromebooks so that they are all exactly the same. They're logged in, and we can all have the same experience. And I actually did enough of them that if the directors or others in the room would like to play along, I would encourage you to do so. Oh my goodness, this has wheels. I guess I should just take it around. Look at that. Right? Sorry. It looks an awful lot like the one that's in front of you. I apologize. That's perfect. You should try it, Patrick. Okay. So first off, I would encourage you kind of chuckle. Oops, that's right. I can't walk around like I'm in a classroom. I need to stay near the microphone. I would encourage you to test that hinge and think about the different ways with the work that you do and or your children, if you have any, how they use these. So often we might use it intent so that I can present, but I'm not the person, right? So I can just go over. I can set it up so that I'm watching a lecture. I can fold it in half to use it as a tablet. And I can also, and an example that Allison shared with me this evening, is set it up so that that camera's working while it's in tent mode to capture a cooking demonstration in a world language. So good stuff there. Oh, you're just watching and listening for a moment. I'll tell you when it's time to play. So the pen is mightier than the keyboard. And I do have a drawing activity built in for you. But before we do that, I want to share with you some different things. And I would think it's obvious, but don't want to miss any. That a pen would obviously support taking notes, writing, drawing, showing work, whether that's in math or science or marking up for addition revisions and things like that. But also, one of the newer strategies that we use with students, and often we think it's the students who used to doodle constantly and you thought they weren't paying attention, there's a strategy called sketchnoting. And with sketchnoting, instead of trying to be really quick on the keys or very fast with handwriting, what students do is instead, they can digitally doodle. They can doodle by hand as well. But we teach them to actually draw images that the concepts that we're sharing, and maybe show concept maps and different things like that. So I do have an activity loaded for all of us called Auto Draw. So first, if you haven't already found the pen as you were playing with the hinge, the pen mine is on my desk. Not a problem, because actually any stylus will work. But the pen is in the lower right-hand corner as you're looking for the screen underneath it, and it slides out. It's a very thin stylus. It is pressure sensitive, high quality, but again, the student loses it. Student doesn't have to pay for a new one, just need to make sure they can use their finger, any pen with a rubber tip, you name it. So the activity that I have for us, if you care to play along, is called Start Drawing. And if you imagine, if you will, that we're sketchnoting. I'm sorry, it's called Auto Draw, but I'd like you to pick Start Drawing. No failing. We're exploring. Well, I'll show you. You absolutely can draw something. So you can choose this auto draw, which is what it's already selected for you. You can pick your color, you can drop in shapes, paint bucket, you name it. And think about what you might do if it's a matter of, do you want to take notes? Do you want to incorporate images? Do you want to describe the mood of the story that the teacher is discussing? So if you start drawing and you start drawing poorly, what you'll notice is that auto draw gives you a whole bunch of images up top because it thinks you might be drawing a tree or a duck or a camera. So now you don't have to be an artist, but you can sketchnote, because if you get close, it's going to start showing you images that you can drag down. Isn't that crazy? When they introduced sketchnoting to me, I was like, nope. So I'll try to draw with my mouse. Let's see. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to draw a triangle. But you see, I can also, of course there's an erase. So you can either undo, or you can go all the way to the top if you would really rather start over, and you can go to the top 3 lines. We often call them pancakes. That's a highly technical term, but go up to those pancakes and say start over, and it'll start over for you. While I have that menu selected, you will notice that students and staff may choose to have them download that, share it, any other thing. So if I'm working and I'm asking kids to sketchnote, even if that modality is not really their preference, I can ask them and encourage them to do it, and then have them share with one another.
Is AutoDraw an extension?
AutoDraw is a website.
Oh, it's a website.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Many of them are both. There's apps, there's extensions, there's Google Play stores, etc. Yeah. All right, should we continue?
How do you get back to that if you got a blue screen?
Oh, I don't know. Close that tab. What I did promise Allison is I wasn't going to get into tech support. I was going to keep it high level, and if someone gets lost, we're just going to keep chugging right along and give you another computer if that's necessary, right? Well, you know, that's where I come from, so I kind of want to. So I'm going to close that tab and go back to the presentation. I want to point out to you, there we go, that stylus does so much more than just allow us to draw. The stylus offers screen capture. It offers, I can quickly create a note by just clicking and jotting a note to myself, and it's going to create a note for me. I can use it as a laser pointer, and it will also work as a magnifying glass. So think of people like my reading glasses in my pocket and or students who need visual support. I can magnify, and as a teacher, if I'm able to demonstrate this, I can magnify the text that I'm focusing on while we're working by just picking that tool out of the tray. We are very excited about the cameras because the cameras, while they take a moment to get used to because we think of this as a laptop, and of course there is the camera for anytime we're used to using a laptop, there's also a world-facing camera. So if you flip it in half like it's a tablet, and the one that's on the screen in front of you is actually going to be what you would be able to use as, call it your viewfinder, I guess, for those of us who are old enough to remember that term. But before we do that, let's open the camera. So the way that we're going to do that is when you have your Chromebook in laptop, I'll call it laptop position, you should see a camera icon. Perfect. Open up that camera icon. So camera is loading. I can decide, is it on me? Am I giving a demonstration? Is it on my kitchen counter where I'm going to be doing a cooking demonstration? Make sure we don't catch the dirty dishes, right? But what I want to show you now, and you also can expand this. So if you're used to the minimize, the box means expand, and the X means close, make it nice and large for us. I've given you two samples of text. One is something that's very, very important to me, which is the DPI Common School Fund rules. And that is just a colored single sheet. One of the great things that you can do with the camera is you can actually scan documents. So now, you're at a lecture. I don't even know how many times when we're at different meetings and someone hands me paper, Allison can attest, I'll say, could you send me that electronically? So, because I take notes digitally, right? I don't have to ask that anymore. If someone hands me a piece of paper, all I need to do is prep my camera, tell my camera now that I'm going to scan. I know I'm not demonstrating for you because I can't be hooked up at the same time. So you switch your camera to scan, and it's going to start looking for a document. Now I forgot to reverse my camera first, so I was trying to scan my face. You'll notice that if you, and again, it's tricky to play with that first, but if I say document and I line up the document, it will actually scan it for me. Then it takes time to play, right? Because we're all sitting here going, wait a second, which way do I do this? So the trick is, I'm gonna flip my camera over because what do I need to see? I need to see what it's taking a picture of. So I'm looking at the glass. The downward facing camera is my scanner. And I'm in poor lighting, but that's okay. You'll see very quickly once it knows you're scanning, it's gonna try to grab that document. You click on the little circle that's a shutter. No worries. There's all kinds of redos. Once you've successfully, if you have, and it's okay if you haven't, we're going to continue to move because I want to respect your time. Once you've successfully scanned a document, now you can go ahead and save that as a PDF. You may save it as a photo if you wish. You can also grab your stylus and start marking it up. When you're done, save it again, send it to whomever you want to share that with. Remember, all staff and students, 612, have the capability to do this now. Let's look at another feature of the camera. The camera also works as a QR code reader. So you will notice that I gave you a sizable QR code. Yes, it is what you do with checks. You're absolutely right. When we want to deposit checks in the bank now, we grab our phone. Actually, kind of a very not uncommon thing that happened earlier this afternoon while I was sharing the presentation with Allison, as I was showing her this slide, and she grabbed her phone. And I said, no, don't need it. Right? We intuitively grab for the phone when we see a QR code if we're used to using them. But remember, all kids don't have those. We don't need the phone any longer. We just use our Chromebook in a different mode. So just like you used your just like you used your camera to scan a document, if you were successful at that, you can also use the QR code to scan, or the camera to scan a QR code. So you set it up very similarly, except instead of document, you tell it it's going to scan a QR. So you choose scan, QR, flip it over so you can see what it is you're scanning. If you see the ceiling, you've got it wrong. All right, we can have fun, can't we? All right, so if you are successful with scanning that, you are going to see a blue link that says, would you like to open? And you simply click on that, and it's going to open the website. Now, no more typing out or having kids try to keep track of, oh, I missed a slash and the ... or you don't have a such and such. If you can provide a photo of a QR code, students can access anything. And I see a lot of really creative uses for QR codes and have for many years, including people embedding QR codes into already amazing presentations where someone can go learn more or check our sources. But that's not all. One of the things that I'm super excited about is when we start combining tools. I mentioned earlier that stylus works as screen capture, and we're not going to do this right now because we may end up with chaos, but I'm more than happy to do private lessons with anyone and or have you borrow one if you'd like to. When you go into screen capture with the stylus, you will notice that there is a toggle, and I do have it kind of called up a little bit bigger on the presentation. So you can choose your stylus and say screen capture. Now slide it over from just grabbing a picture to the video camera. Are you going to use your microphone or are you not? And now you are actually doing a screen recording. That is like phenomenal for me because I cannot tell you how many times I do a quick screen recording because back in the day before all of this, when I was an innovation specialist at Craig High School and then at Wilson and Lincoln, people would say, when you have a few minutes, could you come show me how to? Well, when screencasting came along, I said, you know what, I'll do that right now. Here's a video, watch it as many times as you need. Imagine students, and this is actually a wonderful story that I want to share with you. Dustin Sheeby, who was an AP Stats teacher at Craig High School, sorry, Dr. Mian. He is now on the Innovation Specialist team at Harrison Elementary School. But Dustin and I were co-teaching something years ago at Craig, and he was sharing how for his AP Stats, he used to download lots and lots of data about students' activities, tardies, attendance, grades, sports, different things like that. And he would take years worth of data, take out all of the PII, personal identifiable information, so kids could never know who that was that they were looking at data or even necessarily what year. And Dustin would have the students use that data to look very much like the students we just heard from, to look at what are some of our problems, and is it true that students who are more involved have better attendance rates and better grades, and do they head off to college? And so in this AP Stats class, he would have the kids create different charts with all of that data that they had learned throughout the year. So they'd used all these different charts, and then they had to prepare a presentation. Well, imagine now if they could actually be recording and showing their trend lines and different things like that. So that's just another phenomenal example of different things that we can do. Dustin actually mentioned when I asked him about that story, he said, yeah, there was actually a year that we got to test some of these, not this version, but when he was still at Craig, some of these, and he said that was the greatest experience that they had with that project. At that time, it wasn't an affordable option for us. I do want to talk to you a little bit about accessibility features, because this is super exciting to me. I've actually turned on all of the accessibility features for you this evening. We do not need to play with them. I simply wanted to list them for you. What's that? You want to play with them? No. Okay. No, we're just laughing because you know we all like to play. I know you do. That's okay. We can't play. We want to play. Of course. You did. That's part of my strategy. Come on. You just sold me out. No, just kidding. There you go. So the cool thing about accessibility features now is I don't have to carry something different. I don't have to have an additional device or something, a larger print or anything like that. With the simple setup, I turn on accessibility features, and any of the things that you see in that list, students can enable and disable for themselves. And because I carry the same Chromebook as all the other students in my classroom, it's a wonderful, equitable, and actually one of the cool things that Melanie Beaumont shared with us is that there was a math class with one of the students she works with who has visual impairments. And once the math class learned that an accessibility feature with print helped that student, they all started using it, and that's what the teacher teaches with now, because they just found that, oh, that's helpful for you, cool, we'll do that too. So lots of great things in accessibility features that we're not gonna play with right now. Again, you're welcome to borrow one. So a couple of things that I did ask Sarah and Mel, what were some of the things if they noticed some game changers? And one of the things that Sarah said is, she said, they level the playing field, and I've talked about that already. She said also, although some students benefit from these features, other students need them. And now they can access it alongside their peers with the exact same technology. That one usually chokes me up. I made it. The other thing that Melanie also shared was Moat. It's just one of the tools that we have, and you may be familiar with it, but Moat allows you to dictate. And it really incorporates a lot of audio so that students can hear the teacher's response instead of reading it, and they can answer back in audio. We have lots of extensions. Commissioner Myers asked, is that an extension? So we have our own Google Chrome store, and we have our own Google Chrome store, not because we think we're better than how Google organizes things, but because we recognize that sometimes things that are out on the wide web store are not what's best for kids. And so we have, it is one of the tabs that I have open for you, just past auto draw. We have a Chrome store. Oops, I still have my camera on. We have a Chrome store that has been developed with different apps that teachers or students brought forward and said, these are things that would really help us in the classroom. Okay, so a few of them that I'm going to mention right now are all writing tools. So Snap and Read, and Allison was like, what, it does that? So we're all still learning all the time. So Snap and Read is a tool that students can highlight text and have it read aloud to them. I'm an incredibly auditory person. I can read great, but I can retain it better if I'm listening, and I consume tons of books because I listen while I'm driving, mowing the lawn, you name it. So that Snap and Read, which will read to you, is much more than just for a student or a handful of students that need it. Co-Writer, it's one that I should turn on at times because Co-Writer essentially works as kind of a thesaurus and a word bank. So as I'm drafting, Co-Writer has some artificial intelligence involved that it recognizes the topic that I'm working on, and it starts giving me some suggestions. Now we notice Google and other things, Apple are getting there with that, but this actually gives the kids a strong word bank, and then it helps them with a thesaurus of other words they might use if they're dealing with some overuse issues. Grammarly is one of my favorites. It's made me a far better writer. And Grammarly is just kind of something that works while I'm working. It's that spell check. It's that recommendation when I should have used me instead of I because me sounds weird. You name it. But Grammarly is something that we've purchased for all students. Actually, all three of those are things that we purchase because we think they're so valuable. Again, I mentioned the app store that's already there. And another one that's kind of fun to play with And I can give you a moment. Actually, I at least want to show it to you because this is something that I could imagine had Dustin had this back when he was teaching AP, the sky would have been the limit. I don't have a slide for it because this, but you know what I do have? It's the, excuse me, it's the third tab that I have open for you. It's called Equatio Math Space. I don't know if, that's okay. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to key in a mathematical or a scientific expression. Good luck. So now, not only can you key that in, it's going to help you turn it into text if that's what you'd like, and it's also going to help you graph that. And so without going real deep into that, that's been a huge struggle for our teachers. In fact, so many of the secondary teachers who use Smart Notebook is because it had those math tools. Well, that's a teacher tool. Now we've handed it to the kids because they have Equatio that they're welcome to use. In addition to that, in addition to the Play Store that, to the Chrome Store that we've already curated for students, we're also doing the exact same thing in the Google Play Store. So I have the Play Store down in the taskbar for you if you wish to click on it. It is the, see, I've not used this. Of course, I shouldn't have done that. Not sure which of these is the laser point, but it's the one that is the triangle just to the left of the camera in most cases. And you will see what we have set up for the students in the Play Store. Great story with this. When I was back at Craig working with Dr. Bion, we had a Mac lab, Macintosh Apple lab, in the back of our library. And we had to be super, I don't know the right word right now, but careful about how we allowed people to schedule that lab because it was a favorite amongst the teachers and in the students. So we had to play these games of you can be here for 3 days, but then you need to let another teacher come in. Or students, okay, I'll get here at 7 o'clock tomorrow because I know you really love GarageBand, but I want to go home before 6. so we just, that lab was so busy all the time. And it was because it was really the only place that kids could come in and or teachers to do some of these media enhanced projects. And I'm telling you, there were more football players in there doing radio shows and you name it. But now they can take it home and they can work on it anywhere. And most of these, they can actually collaborate on the exact same project with one of their peers, whether they're in the same room or not. So again, that's another equity issue. Are kids able to come to school early? Do they have enough time in their day to come spend time in the library, especially if it's a project? I remember telling teachers that a really great project takes 17 hours between planning it and final editing. And so to make a project like that due around exams was really tough. But now we've enabled kids to do it anywhere. This last one is just a fun example of introducing the technology to our youngest of learners. In this case, our youngest of learners with Chromebooks are 6th graders. And so Britta Gagne over at Edison, along with Jim Lemire and others, decided to introduce the Chromebooks and talk PBIS. And so they did a PBIS a design project, and kids could submit what they thought should be the background of their home screen. So every student that opens their Chromebook at Edison sees the same thing, and this young lady won that. Now that was in the fall, and I know that different things like that happen all the time because with the Chromebook we have the capability to just set that setting for a group of students. So you could imagine if there's a play coming up or something like that, you could very easily create a banner that's going to remind everybody because it's on their desktop. If time allows, I do have a Jamboard set up for us, but I also completely understand if we'd like to be done right now. I will show you what that is, though. So Jamboard, and the one that I have set up for all of you, if you click on the thing that kind of looks like a orange-yellow J, is taking us back to, you remember I invited you to think at the beginning of this presentation about that IDEA SOS strategy. Was there anything you heard this evening that you found very interesting? Were there ideas that seem very different to you? Is there anything that we discussed that was exciting and or where do you think we could advance these features? In a normal presentation with time allowed, I would have students start adding their thoughts, create new slides, drop in pictures, sketch note, you name it, confer with one another, and see what we come away with. But this evening, I think I will close with asking if you have any questions.
I've said it again and numerous times. Technology has advanced since my brother word processing days at UW
Oh, I lived
Lacrosse.
that. You could brush your teeth while that page printed.
Yes, you could. So
2 a.m.
this was fun. My question is, you know, for like the Google Play at the bottom, you could
Yeah.
click the Google Play and that comes up. But where do students see the Chrome extension? How do they get to that so that they know that all of this
Sure.
exists?
So, let me get out of this presentation and show you.
Because it was pretty easy to find the Google Play because it was right between the file folder and by the camera.
Sure.
What are we doing now?
Oh, we're watching, Carl. So I have it demonstrated for you. If you open a new tab, there's a little puzzle piece because we kind of make all those pieces fit together. And those are the different extensions. Now, you're all in my student account.
Yeah.
Super innocuous because the only time I use it is to test, can students do this like adults can do this, right? That equity piece. So you don't have a lot, but you see if you look up at the screen, I have many. The one that looks like a little puzzle piece. So if you go to open a new tab,
I've got that thing.
and then in the upper right-hand corner, very close to, I guess it would be my icon or lack of an icon, there's a puzzle piece. And that, excellent. So the puzzle piece, if you click on that, and again, you're not going to have a lot because I didn't load them here, but there would be different extensions.
Oh, there we are, man.
Thank you for showing me
Got
that.
you, Chris.
Thank you. This was
You're
really
very
exciting.
Just wanted to add when we talked about the Google extensions and Shelley mentioned, you know, yes, snap and read, you know, I know students can upload any text and it will read to them. What I didn't know as a newer feature too is that if a student is not reading on grade level, it can translate the text into a lower lexile or reading level. So a student that might be, you know, a sophomore but reading at a different grade level, it has the ability to change the text into a different level.
And also a different language, which we did not talk about.
Yes, and so
there's
where they
just so
can
much.
highlight
There's so much.
vocabulary and, you know, annotate right on the text. And so beyond just reading any text to them, it can translate it into a different reading level as well. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
What kind of learning curve is there for students? I mean,
Well, you watched us.
I've watched the whole screen throughout this whole.
Yeah.
You know, and
Oh,
some
sure.
students learn very quickly, but there's got to be some students that this is extremely challenging for because there's so many components.
So we're modeling it for them constantly. I can tell you that the way that I learned most of the sophisticated software when I was at Craig High School was ask a kid, how do you do that? They teach each other. They find cool things and show one another. And always, you know, and again, we model. And most of the time, kids are going to find the most efficient way to get something done so that they can move on to either something else that they have to take care of or something they might more enjoy. So this final slide that I have here is kind of what's on your shelf. You know, you hear what's in your wallet. Whatever's on your shelf is what you need, and what's on my shelf is what I need.
What room do they take kindergarten sign up tomorrow? Hi. Microphone. I'll be there.
Oh, he's just joking. He said, where can he go learn more? Actually, Carl, I think I helped you out years ago when I was at Craig. I'm happy to help anybody out. I'm happy to check this out to someone if you'd like to borrow it and learn more. Any one of the innovation specialists in the buildings are phenomenal at this. Ask a kid.
Are we doing like Google level 1 training and 2 and all those things?
Yeah, we are. So you'll remember that there was a goal of ours to have 90% of teachers trained in Google if they were 6-12, and Apple if they were K-5. We actually have a lot of crossover now, so we have a lot of 6 through 12 taking Apple, and a lot of going on to Google because, of course, those tools are available to them. And yes, that's still a very well-attended class.
Good.
I am tracking. We blew the doors off of that goal. People are asking for more. Currently, I've got a few things going on with some recovery efforts, and so I'm looking forward to getting back into that as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other, yeah, Liz?
This is awesome. Thank you for your work that you've been
welcome.
doing. And this presentation, I feel, is so meaningful for us as the district is invested in these resources for us to understand just how sophisticated they are. I have some questions for my high schooler now. I want to see what she can show me. The parts that you mentioned specifically about equitable learning opportunities are really important to me whenever I am making decisions. And volunteering in schools in the past, that's always something that has been on my mind. So I really appreciate that. There's also someone in my family that has dysgraphia.
Yes.
And so this is really meaningful on a personal level. As you mentioned, how students now, no one knows what resources, you just do your work, and it isn't necessarily apparent that you are doing something different. One of the questions I have is, there's so many opportunities that are available. I'm wondering, could there be some summer school technology program where students could get exposed to this? I don't know what the right terminology would be, but
So there could be.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize enough that really what we're doing is the innovation specialists that I work with are doing their absolute best to try to teach teachers about
Okay.
these tools. And the best way for kids to learn it is not always to sign up for a summer session.
Yeah.
But to hear, oh, let's see if this helps, or have a student
Right.
fix them. So kind of just spreading that culture of recognizing that these tools do so much more than just letting us type a Google Doc. It's
Right.
really the critical piece. But certainly we could entertain them.
I mean, some kind of boot camp. I mean, maybe that's not the right terminology,
boot camp in
but
sixth grade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I could just see how that could really be worked into, especially for that sixth grade summer school program, just to start experimenting with some of these
Well, we actually
extensions.
do it in the fall so that it's equitable. So it's a
Okay.
fall. We do boot
Great.
camp in the fall so that all students who are getting a Chromebook for the first time.
That's
learn about
great.
those features.
Great, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And I'll tell you tonight, reading that quote from Sarah is the first time that I didn't choke up over it, because I too am passionate about that equity. Any other questions?
Yes.
I had one more thing to say. Please, at your leisure. I've got a very long list. When I asked my colleagues what were some game changers, I got way more than I had expected, and way more than we would have fit into this evening's presentation. So I have that for you to take and review as you're able. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay.
I'll take it.
Okay, try following that, Scott. Yeah. We'll give her a second to.
You know what, I'll get those afterwards. So
You sure? Okay.
Slide aside and let them. You're good.
Set mine up there. Thank you. All right,
We ready?
we're ready.
All right. Well, I'm happy to follow that because they really built in. I'm not going to ask you to draw or anything like that, but what I will ask tonight is just to notice the presentation that I'm doing that I brought to PPC about the sub compensation is so important. Subs are vital to our everyday functioning, and as you know, fill rates are down across the state, across the county. So we need to do what we can to honor and to help retain the subs, the dedicated people that we do have attending our schools each and every day. And what we're asking them to do is much different than what it was even 5 years ago. They have to become fluent in the Google Chromebook. They have to become fluent using Apple products. And so just that knowledge base alone is invaluable to our kids. And so as I want to thank the PPC committee who allowed me to present this and move this forward in terms of our sub compensation rates. I did do a research study last week that brought in the most recent sub compensations across different districts. What you're seeing is like Oregon, for example, they're at 160 a day. We have Blake Turner at 150. We have Milton, who's at 140. They vary greatly. Parkview is also at 160. So we're in competition with those districts. And as Superintendent Pufall alluded to, that we are trying to, as a consortium, agree upon a set price for subs. And we did come to about 150 as that agreed upon kind of price. We believe that will help us keep the people that we have. But in addition to that, the long-term sub, we're really going to increase that, and we recommend to have that at $225 per day as a result of the fact that they do the teaching. When you're there for 5 or more days, you're actually doing the teaching. You're doing the work at night, you're doing the research, you're thinking about the kids, you're bringing the work home. It's not like you're just going from school to school to school. While valuable, that long-term sub is committed to that classroom and that school. And we're seeing more and more districts going to that. The $225 represents the base wage of our teacher schedule, for the record. So it's a per diem at a roughly $225 per day. So that's what we're asking you tonight, is to approve the increase. The budgetary impact, at least for this year, there won't be one. It'll impact the budget, but we'll probably, most likely, based on our fill rates, come in under budget. Next year and years after, it might. It will impact the budget if we go at a 67.5 fill rate, which is still low. It's going to impact about $25,000 of our budget. If we go above that, which I hope we do, it could be more. But as I said, substitutes are essential to our district functioning, much like gas and electric. We need the staff here, so we believe as the administration it's worth the investment in this proposal. So I'm asking you tonight to approve a per diem rate of $150 per day for daily substitutes and $225 per day for our long-term substitutes.
Have a motion. Okay, so I have a motion by Commissioner Hayworth and a second by Commissioner Herda. Okay, and another second by Commissioner Hanwell if we want to really spread the wealth. Any discussion? Yeah, Commissioner Donaldson.
Try to make it simple. I can, after that last demonstration, wow. 225 for long-term, 150 for the other. Yet we've got quite a few districts around us are going 160 and 170.
We have, not 170, we have lots of districts that are going to they're moving from 140 to 150. There's 2 districts that have 160. They're further out, but it's still drivable, I would consider. What we do is if we keep the rate at 150, increase it to 150, I should say, we're keeping those people who would choose Janesville anyways. Okay, I don't know if we're going to recruit a whole bunch of new people because they're just not there, but we are going to, I believe, and I've talked to Superintendent Pufall about this, it'll help maintain the staff that we do have committed to Janesville.
And we're currently paying what?
140 and 200.
And we have plenty of substitutes?
We have a pool of 125, but as you know, COVID has impacted that for everyone around.
Sure. That's. I'm just wondering if we're going enough. What would $10 more cost us to be up there with the others?
Well, it would be probably 10% more of what the $25,000 for next year would be.
So another 2,500.
No, it'd be more than that. I would guess it to double.
10% of 25 is.
Sorry, Carl. It would double. I would guess that it would double based on the calculations I have.
So we're talking from 25 to 50,000.
Correct.
And we haven't seen the budget yet. Any kind of projection.
That's next year.
Okay, I'd like to increase it, but without seeing a budget where we are, it's pretty darn hard. This goes in effect when?
January 3rd.
January 3rd.
Be retroactive, January 3rd.
Okay, I'd like to revisit that in the future, but for right now, let's just move on. So, thank you.
Okay, was that a motion for any, that was not a motion? Okay, or an addendum or anything like that? Okay,
I just said I'd like to revisit it in the future, but not to.
okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments? All right, let's go ahead and call the question. Could you read the motion to us? The motion was to accept the proposal, is that right? Okay, as stated in our memo. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. That was unanimous with Commissioner Murray and Millard absent tonight. Thank you very much. Okay, update on the superintendent search process. Commissioner Ardrey.
Yes, couple documents that are in the board packet, and I guess I'll start off my biggest omission. Although I went through the dates, I didn't have our calendar out, and part of it has us getting together for interviews during spring break. Thank you, Commissioner Paul, for pointing out my non-perfectness. One more time, no. No, so I'm going to go back. I just wanted to say that. So what we have is the timeline that we had worked out and then sort of our planning document. So a couple of things that have happened. Number one, we had to officially get HYA on board and get the superintendent position posted. So we had it posted on HYA's site on December 23rd, and then on our internal school district site on the 28th. So at that point, the only other, I guess, significant piece is developing who gets interviewed and kind of how, and this will be more of an open forum where it'll be a time slot and then the particular designated people can come in and share their thoughts. And this is all part of developing the superintendent profile that the community and admin and various people would say, here's what we want to see within a superintendent. So that's on the second page. Looking like the week of February 21st through the 25th would be the time frame for those interviews. Fortunately, and I guess now I'll go back to, there was some flexibility and some time that we have, so more than likely we will just move up the interviews 1 week. So we would look at March 14th through the 18th would be our interview time frame. All still setting up to have a superintendent selected in April at the latest. The other piece is, as you guys have thoughts and ideas for various community members, and I think I said key community members for personal invites. Do have a session with Forward Janesville, but I know that there's some other people that I didn't believe really fit within that organization that I would like to get their input. So that's where we are today. If there's any questions, let me know at any time. Michelle?
Thank you for your work on this, Craig. Two things. I guess I can email you, but I'm look for flexibility on that final interviews to be the week from 2 weeks prior to our spring break, because my kids' spring breaks don't match, so we're splitting our spring breaks. So just personally, I would like to move them even 1 week earlier. But then also, did HYA provide this? I love this planning document. That's really, I like it. I like a checklist. And did they provide this? This is nice. We didn't have it before.
They did, and we will work through each and every line item with them. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I guess the one thing that I would say, the schedule that we laid out is tentative still. So I would expect, they were trying to work around some of our normal board meetings. And I'm like, we will have to have probably some special board meetings to make sure that we continue to keep up with the timeline. So.
Well, thank you very much for your work on this and for taking the helm of this important task. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Commissioner Hayworth, PPC report.
All right, I prepared my adjectives right away for this one. And we had an eye-opening and chill come over you type of meeting. With great content around what is happening in our district. First, Mr. Mainwell did a presentation on AVID. This is a program that the district will have a district coordinator and then a site level coordinator at Craig, Parker, and RUHS. It will be targeted at first to a select group of 25 students, I think it was. And they have really good attendance. It's just students who desire to do a little bit better. Maybe they're in the middle of the road academically, but they're disciplined, and it will teach those students how to study and be good students with note-taking and strategy skills for learning. While it's going to start out small, all of us commissioners are hoping that it will quickly spread widely to be utilized by all students and even start to get incorporated into middle school as they're getting ready to head into high school. So the program is very advantageous to our district and has a great track record of improving graduation rates and college acceptance rates. Along with that great work, Chris is also working on the career pathways to create material for students to explore careers and see what courses to take and what groups and experiences they can be involved in related to that career to see if it still interests them. More to come on both of these two projects, but thanks to Chris and the team for all the work that you've done on this. It's definitely going to help our students, and we can't wait for another share out on that. Mr. Garner presented an update on the paraprofessional pay structure. He's going to be working on that. It'll help us to get more competitive and include a structure that honors longevity and provides ongoing PD. So we appreciate the work that you're doing on that. It's very important. They're a very appreciated staff group that we have. And then the sub pay rate update that you already got. Thank you. Did I miss anything? We're good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, summary of board requests. I don't think that I have anything new. Future meeting dates and times. Can you help me with that, Ms. Johnson?
I'd be glad to.
Thank you.
Our Finance Buildings and Grounds Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, January 25th at 3 p.m. here at the Educational Services Center. And the next Board of Education meeting is Tuesday, February 8th at 6 p.m. also here at the Educational Services Center.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we've come to the end of our agenda. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for everything. It's a good meeting.